Okay, for this problem, what we want to focus on is what we're trying to graph, and we are trying to graph right now the function f of x equals 6 to the x. So I think the best way to get started is to choose some values of x, some that are positive and some that are negative, and then of course choosing zeros is always a good idea as well. So to get started, let's choose some values of x, which outputs some values of y. So I'm going to choose -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Now when we choose -2, that means f of -2, which means 6 to the -2. Now when we have a negative exponent, remember that means to flip everything. So this is 1 over 6 squared, which is 1 over 36. This is a really small number, very close to the x-axis, but not quite touching the x-axis. F of -1 would be 6 to the -1, which is 1/6. This is really close to the x-axis as well, but it's not as close as 1 over 36 is. Okay, let's go ahead and look at f of 0. 6 to the 0. Anything to the 0 power is 1 by definition. And then over here we'll do f of 1. F of 1 would mean 6 to the first, which is 6. And then f of 2, which would be 6 squared, which is 36. So let's go ahead and fill this in. And then let's copy this table, and then we'll go ahead and look at this on a different slide here in just a second. Okay, so let's go ahead and graph these points. So to get started, first of all, we do have some values for x equal -1, x equal -2. Here would be 0, 1, and 2. So if we plot these points, my scale is going to have to be pretty extreme. So to get started, here's -2, 1/36. It's just very, very close to the x-axis. Now if we plug in a -1, I need to be 1/6, which is a little bit higher. And when I plug 0 in, remember I have a 1 back out. So this is crossing the y-axis at 1. If I plug in a 1, I get a value of 6 back out. We'll have to rescale this a little bit. And when I plug in a 2, I'm going to be clear up here at 36 on my y-axis. So when I sketch in my graph, I get something similar to this. And this looks most likely like the letter C that you have here. Now a couple things, we can tell this is increasing because I read my graph from left to right. And so if we were driving, if you want to think of that, if you want to look at driving along this axis right here, we can see that I'm increasing if you could think about that. So I know my graph is increasing. Now let's go ahead and talk about the domain and the range. So for my domain, these are horizontal values. And you can see that these go on indefinitely in either direction. There's no restriction on what I can plug in here. So my domain would be negative to positive infinity. And that's a parentheses there. And my range would be my y values. These are my vertical values. Well, you can see I never drop below the x-axis here. So I don't even actually touch 0. And then I'm going to go clear up here toward positive infinity as well. So these are the values that come from. And if you have any questions, please shoot me an email and let me know. I'd be happy to help out.